Your Excellency, Yemen has been living through a prolonged series of crises, conflict, the pandemic, climate events. These all present big developmental challenges. What are the key actions the government's been taking to address these challenges?
Thank you, Kathleen. Like you mentioned, Yemen facing a complicated, severe crisis, and now accumulated during the 7 years of war. Humanitarian crisis, we have deteriorating in economy. UNDP estimated that the Yemen economy set back 2 decades, and if it go back maybe to 4 decades, if it continue, we lost 126 billion US dollar in total in GDP during the 6 years of war. We have 4 million IDPs, internally displaced people. We have 20 million food insecure in Yemen. So all that accumulated, and also with the COVID-19 that we faced in 2020, the main concern for the government is to preserve the economy. We don't want the people to lose the purchasing power. We need to control the deterioration of the currency, and so surging the inflation. This is the main concerns that we during the last years. And we took some actions, reforms in the central bank. We control the budget deficit. We bring it back to 30% comparing to in 2021, comparing to 54% in 2020. Revenues, we raised it from oil sector and non-oil sector. It raised 47% during 2021 comparing to 2020. This is one of the main things that we want to control, and we inject money to the health sector so we can face COVID-19 pandemic. We built around 26 isolation camp around the country, 14 oxygen factory. We face a lot of difficulties providing oxygen to the isolation camp. We built that in 2020 and 2021 and enhanced the capacity of the health sector and run vaccination campaigns. All that with the support of international community.
So let's talk more about the role the international community has played. What steps have been most important? Where could this assistance, this cooperation improve?
It's important, and one of the key issues is stay engaging. Engaging in those crises, because sometimes it's closed doors cause a lot of problems. The cost of disengaging is high. IDA, for example, is an example of global solidarity. The amount that they support countries like Yemen helps in our situation. So for the international community, it's important to stay engaging, and also mitigating risk rather than avoiding risks is important. That's why one of the examples, the World Bank interventions during the crisis is I think they have example in Yemen, and we work together and we enhance that. And also presence on the ground. If the donors knows more about political atmosphere and economic atmosphere inside the country, they can design good ways in implementation and helping the country. And also balancing between emergency response and long-term development. It's always emergency response, but we need to balance that. We need to capitalize more in sustainable and inclusive growth. That's important. This is one of the main issues that I can recall.
The world is watching the war in Ukraine. We know there are several countries around the world that are in crisis. What lessons can they learn from Yemen, from the steps you have taken, how you've gotten through this?
We are in major problems in food insecurity. We started, I mentioned at the beginning, we have 20 million Yemeni food insecure. And the war in Ukraine shows how fragility we could end up by the end of this year. And not only Yemen, other countries facing crisis maybe face that. We have 31% of our wheat come from Ukraine. at the beginning of this year, when we set up with the traders, we sit with them and we try to find different sources of that. That's why by the wheat prices raised 7 times between 2015 until now. In a country like Yemen, with the loss of purchasing power, that affects a big sector of people. That's why we think about all this situation. We are facing a devastating situation by the end of this year. So if we I think seizing a window of hope is important. Now in Yemen, we have the truce. In countries like facing crisis, seizing the opportunities for bringing peace is important and giving hope to the people. And also there is a different elements like supporting private sector. In country like Yemen, there is places more secure and people can create jobs. That's why we support the private sector always, that they can work and we can rely on the private sector to help us. And also aligned with that is investing in human capital. And the issue also is important to scaling support to the countries like Yemen. Unprecedented times need unprecedented actions. It's not the response for the crisis, not the crisis itself. The response of the crisis determine how we can build back better after the crisis. So the response should be unique, responding to the crisis itself. So it's one of the lessons learned from the Ukraine-Russian war that affect the whole world, not only Yemen. But we are talking about fragility and fragile countries facing crisis. And as we talked at the beginning, we have multiple layers of crisis aligned with COVID-19 and natural disasters. And we face that as a government in different governorates in a different crisis we find.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for an illuminating and inspiring conversation.
Thank you, Catherine.